WICLO unions met on Saturday, January the 26th, 2019, and the information was shared. Not even a minimum wage increase adjusted to the cost of living. The Minister of VSR provided the workers of St. Martin neither in 2018 and 2019. And if I can safely say, the last minimum wage adjustment was in 2016. So where the minimum wage ordinance stipulates that the minimum wages have to be indexed by the 1st of January with the cost of living increase of the consumer price index difference from August the year before and August 2 years before, one more year is passing with the minimum wage earners where they have to survive with 0% adjustment to the cost of living that had deteriorated their purchasing power, with the increase after Irma being the highest recorded since 2006. To address the refusal to index the minimum wage last week Saturday, the coordinators of the St. Martin Anti-Poverty Platform, Consumers Coalition, held a meeting with the affiliated unions of the Windward Islands Chamber of Labor Unions. After reviewing with them the developments concerning the non-indexation of the minimum wage and the Daily Herald article and statements of the Cabinet of Minister of VSR, the protest of the platform and the public appeal for a task force to determine the social responsible and legal possible minimum wage, the reaction of Minister Lee in the meeting with the platform coordinators on Wednesday, January the 23rd. The union representatives concluded the following. 0% COLA is unacceptable and a social injustice, just as for seniors, widows, orphans, and disabled, as socially responsible and legally justified new minimum wage has to be established, which should be a living wage. The union representatives were not amused at all with the fact that the Minister of VSR only has consulted with employers' representatives and not also with the unions. It was decided that the WICLO will ask for or request a tripartite meeting between representatives of private sector employees, government representatives, and representatives of the labor unions to table the issue on the agenda's indexation of the minimum wage in the next meeting of the tripartite consultation. Just as in the past, in the time of the island territory of St. Martin, the unions will provide a written analysis and proposal for a socially accepted minimum wage to the tripartite meeting to reach a consensus. All technicalities to implement a retroactive implementation of the minimum wage as per the 1st of January have to be properly addressed. As the anti-poverty platform, we will support the WICLO unions in their request to negotiate a socially acceptable minimum wage for workers in St. Martin, which will make it possible for them to have an equitable level of income in the Kingdom of the Netherlands, not to be in poverty. Poverty is the issue that is plaguing our society right now. Topic number 2. A COLA of 2.71. Let me go back. A COLA of 2.71% for social premiums and 5.63% for St. Martin Medical Center over 2018. Now, just to interject, we have been saying St. Martin Medical Center is not a worker, so COLA should be reserved for the workers. As a follow-up to the meeting that we had with the Ombudsman on Wednesday, January the 16th, we had a correspondence also with the Ombudsman. The last email we got from the Secretary General of the Ombudsman was that they will not do a systematic investigation to determine why the consumer's price indexes and the cost of living adjustment of the social pensions was not executed according to the legislations. Reason for not starting an investigation for the Ombudsman were the publications in the press that the Minister of VSR had formed a task force to come up with a socially acceptable and legally possible figure to adjust the social premium pensions. Yesterday afternoon, the St. Martin Seniors and Pensioners Association got an email from the chef of the cabinet of Minister Lee referring to the newspaper article in the Daily Herald online that with retroactive force till January the 1st, the social pensions will be indexed with 2.71%. This means that for every 100 guilders, a social pension will be increased with 2 guilders and 71 cents a month. An increase of 29 guilders and 43 cents every month, which is 98 cents per day. Since the average old age pension in St. Martin is about $300 a month, the 2.7% increase will be $8.13 or 27 US cents per day. A little more than a quart every day. Is this a sociable, responsible old age pension? This is still a poverty pension as a broad conclusion. This is still not enough for a pensioner to survive. So observation number 1. If it was not for the public protest of the anti-poverty platform on behalf of the most vulnerable group in our society, the 0% indexation per January the 1st would not have been revisited.
Tell them. Connecting you.
1,
2,
3,
4. This is how common it is to develop a mental illness. 1 out of every 4.
4,
4.
4. But there is hope. Today, most mental illnesses can be managed and treated. Visit your general doctor if you feel concerned about your thoughts and behaviors or have some difficulty dealing with some of life's issues.
If you have been diagnosed and are suffering from a mental illness, keep in mind these 4 points to help you manage your mental health.
1. Get regular.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Madam Chair, I would like to start by going through this very important document that's dated the 25th of June 2018. It's the vervangingsregeling for the ministers. Now, you mentioned earlier that the Minister of TIAT could not be here, and his replacement is also off island, which is Minister Geerlings. But then, he also has a replacement, which would be Minister Lee. And if he's not there, there's also a replacement. So the fact that no one is here representing the Ministry of TIAT, there's no excuse based on the ministers here or there. Thank you. I would like to continue, through you, Madam Chair, to the Prime Minister. I received the presentation, but a very important part of the presentation is missing, which some of my colleagues alluded to earlier, is did the St. Martin government, the Leona Romeo Marlin cabinet, offer these positions in April of 2018? Because according to me, the government did. It was published in the newspaper. Now, in regards to these conditions, on January 8, 2019, the Dutch State Secretary Knops urges government to decide soon about the airport grant loan. Subsequently, on the 9th of January, government accepts World Bank EIB loan for reconstruction of PGIA. Madam Chair, this is very reactive to me, because this seems to be the trend of this current government. The Dutch government says something, and our COM executes. If Mr. Knops wants to see the dump, you see articles with 3-4 ministers on the dump around him. We, as members of parliament, requested a tour for the hurricane shelters. Not one minister showed up, Madam Chair. That, to me, is a blatant disregard for this House of Parliament. I also requested once, before the hurricane season, please hold an open-air meeting, explain the residents of the current situation so they don't have to wonder. That also fell on deaf ears. But when the Dutch say something, this government goes and does it and executes everything. Very questionable. Now you be the judge. Anyhow, what I would like to know, was the government of St. Martin rushed into making this decision in the loan grant agreement for the reconstruction of the airport? Prime Minister, did you seek advice before making this decision or accepting these conditions? Did you request advice from any of the high councils of state before making this decision, especially considering the far-reaching consequences for country St. Martin? If you did seek advice, by whom? And if not, why not? I also took note of the headline today in the newspaper: government acquires 15 million bridge loan for the airport. Now, with the word acquires, that means that it's already signed and sealed. But then if you go along and you read, it says Tourism Minister Stuart Johnson will formalize the bridge loan with the Dutch government along with the Minister of Finance. So here again, you have a headline trying to cool down a meeting in terms of putting it out before to simmer the members of parliament to not ask questions about this. But this is just simply a plan, an article, because it still has to be formalized by the Minister of Theatre and the Minister of Finance, which also happened in the previous meeting with the airport, where you saw the article came out, I think, the Sunday before the meeting, and they were talking about possible financing. So this seems to be a trend. Now, I would like to refer to the 550 million that is promised to St. Martin. Now, one of the government-owned companies is getting conditions to get the loan from government, but we already agreed to conditions for that same money. So we're getting conditions on top of conditions. My next question is, as other speakers before me also asked, why didn't the government issue a guarantee letter in order for the airport to receive the money from the bondholders? to reconstruct the airport. I also read in the newspaper today that the Minister of Health went all the way to Italy to seek a guarantee letter for the company Inzo in order to build the hospital. Now, it's a bit strange to me, Madam Chair, because to me, the minister is supposed to scrutinize the company. If they have financial woes, should be very critical, not fighting on their behalf. But then again, we have our own PGIA struggling, which is the pillar of our economy, one of the pillars of our economy, struggling to get a guarantee letter from this government. Why was this guarantee letter not issued? Madam Prime Minister, through you, Madam Chair, I would like to know, what are your priorities? What are the priorities of your cabinet? The community is crying out for real representation and not a government that takes instructions from others, namely the Dutch government. Because right now, this is clearly the case. In a press release a few weeks ago, the Minister of TIAT said, assistance welcome, but not as disguised hostile takeover. Minister Stuart Johnson said that some other conditions of this agreement include a virtual takeover of the Supervisory Board of Directors and also the Management Board of the PGIA Airport. And the criteria for requiring a local company to participate in bids for work at the airport is not possible based on World Bank and EIB standards. This is on the 20th of December in the Daily Herald. According to reports coming from Holland, the Honorable Prime Minister, following an interview, said, de beschuldiging van de minister Johnson dat de Nederlandse regering is op een vijfdanig overname van Prinses Juliana Airport. U heeft mij nooit dat horen zeggen. De minister is verantwoordelijk voor zijn eigen woorden. So basically, you are distancing yourself from the statement and saying that you never said that. The minister can say what he wants. Now, to me, this entire Council of Ministers seems to be out of sync and maybe even going rogue, as they say. Because here you have the Prime Minister with an opinion, the Minister of TIA talking about accepting help but not at any cost for a hostile takeover. And then, as my colleague mentioned, a few weeks ago, the Minister of Finance was on a TV program in Suriname, and he also stated, in his opinion, the World Bank was not a good idea and he would choose not to go with the World Bank. I mean, it's pretty much confusing. The people are confused.
Hey ma, how you doing? You busy?
I hear, just paying some bills, taking care of business, you know what it is?
I know, you're doing your online banking.
I don't have to stand in those long lines to pay bills. I can transfer when I want. I can check my account wherever. It's like the bank open 24/7. I even here checking the statement right now as we're talking. How's Miami?
Well, that's why I'm calling. I'm finishing up a few songs now, but I'm afraid that studio time might be more than I thought. And I was wondering if I could get some help with some funds, and I could pay you back as soon as I get back to St. Martin.
Let me check my account. How much you need?
I think 500 should be enough.
I can transfer it to you while online. Direct from me to you. No problem.
Great. Thank you so much, Ma. I'll get online with Viv now.
All right, darling. You know who you're for?
I need to know who you are.
Contact Web today for your complete personal online banking experience. Available for all mobile devices, the Wynwood Islands Bank, now your online banking partner in progress.
Who you are.
I think for probably about 18 months now, we've had individual meetings with each other, kind of separate and apart, but it's really been over the last 6 months that we have begun coming together as all three at the same time and began to discuss what we had in common, finding out we had a whole lot more in common than we thought, and then that propelled forward to this day.
I'm sure you have identified some common areas to start tackling as one body. First and foremost, which would be the most important one at this time for the organization?
Well, I would just like to say that echoing what Dr. Chumley just said, we've been thinking about this for a while. The first task was to get to know each other and really get to know each other, how each institution operates, how our boards work, our student populations, and accreditation processes. And so that was the first task. Thereafter, when we entered in conversation, we talked about the need for research on the island that would be beneficial to St. Martin. We talked about resources. We talked about our experiences post-Irma. What happened with St. Martin after Irma and what role we all played. Actually, we got to know each other after after that disaster. So we're looking into research, we're looking into thinking about public policy, having kind of independent voice, a critical look at policy in higher education. We're looking at issues that concern the three institutions. For instance, where do we get our staff and where do we get our faculty from, for instance? All three institutions have employees that come from abroad. So one of the places that we've identified is talking to government to see if there's a way that we could facilitate the entrance of employees, lecturers, researchers, etc. And that's just one example of the challenges that we will collectively tackle.
Yes, Minister Lee, concerning the indexation, as far as the Minister of Labor, you've been the minister for quite some time now with different governments. Do you believe that the indexing should take place?
For the AOV?
Yeah.
Sorry, I do. I think clearly there has been some increase in the consumer pricing. So the idea is that the AOV should be indexed so that you can maintain a standard of living. And I think that's a basic principle. So it really is a technical issue. So Unfortunately, like I mentioned, and as by the unfortunately, I didn't have any technical ability to do that. And so we are reviewing to see, how can we adjust that? So yes, in principle, I believe that we should.
Thank you, Minister Lee. Andrew Bishop, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Minister Lee, are there any price control officers out there? Because the prices in the supermarkets are sometimes very difficult for people to manage. Because in one supermarket is one price, and in another supermarket is another price. Is there anything being done about that?
Andrew, thank you. The Ministry of VSR does not control prices. That's a function of the Ministry of TIAT. So our responsibility is to control from a health perspective. And since you asked the question, it might be interesting to also comment. For example, earlier this week, there was a video going around on WhatsApp with some supposed restaurant and I immediately contacted the inspector, and the inspector actually explained that this is a video that's been circulating for a year, and it has nothing to do with any restaurant in St. Martin. So I caution people, because you see it a lot, especially on social media, where people take one thing, they take it out of context, and they heard from somebody who heard from somebody, and next thing you know, it's going viral all over the place. So, I do think that the inspectorate does a very good job in terms of going out and controlling from a health perspective. From the price perspective, that's something that's under TIAT, but I guess I could comment that there are obviously things that are price controlled, that's set, you see them advertised in the newspaper. The other items are regulated by market forces, by competition.